The Philippine Peasant Movement, or the KMP, was invited by the AIKMS, or the All India Kisan Mazdur Sabha, to attend its third conference here in Allahabad, India. So we know that the AIKMS has discussed in some of its papers the conditions here in India, which we find very similar to what we are facing in the Philippines, especially the peasantry and the agricultural laborers. So we think that it would be a strong show of solidarity with the Indian peasantry to come and join hands with you here.
What have been the dominant left tendencies in Philippines? How much of it is, part of what you would call the Marxist-Leninists, and do you have also those who are part of the parliamentary left, as in India?
Yeah. The dominant left, as you would say it, belongs to the National Democratic Movement. It's, for example, the Philippine Peasant Movement, which I represent, is part of that. And if you would take the KMP as an example, the KMP has its regional and provincial chapters in almost all parts of the country. And we have that also on women, with the workers, with the youth, with the professionals. So I would say that it has a big voice in Philippine politics. Maybe not dominant yet. For what we say as still the dominant in Philippine society is the reactionary forces in the country. And yes, we have also the various open democratic movements, which include having a party list system. The party list system is composed of party lists or political parties, electoral politics. It's a good question, because right now, this coming May 9, we are having our presidential elections. It is a national elections, and hopefully, some of our candidates in the electoral politics through the party list system may win seats.
How important is the electoral system for the KMP?
The electoral system is importance is can be measured in terms of policy advocacies in trying to effect significant reforms through the system of parliament. But the KMP is not in it primarily because the KMP's struggle is in laying down a vigorous mass movement. Elections is only part of its struggle.
How has the workers' movement been in the last few years? Because Philippines also is becoming quite an important outsourcing center for multinationals in terms of like Adidas and
Yes.
consumer goods. So how has been the workers' movement?
The workers' movement is still there. The center for the trade union movement is with the KMU, or the May 1st movement. It's still there, vigorous, militant, and still on its struggle to bring on little changes and advancing its demands. For example, on wages, on better working conditions, even bigger maternity issues for women workers. It's still there and growing.
Like the Indian workers' movement since the 1960s, what we have seen has been more of a retreat. The welfare state has been dismantled, and there's increasing corporatization, increasing contract labor. Do you face the same issues in Philippines?
Yes, we have almost the same. The onslaught of neoliberal economics has ensured that we remain as much as the same before, but worsening conditions. The onslaught of big transnational corporations and then setting up big plantations in the countryside, and then policies of labor contractualization, or what you call labor flexibility, and then the wages being frozen, so that we can cater to the import, export oriented economy, which does not really affect growth, no matter what our government says, that we have achieved 8%, 9% growth. But it can be measured in terms of the percentage of the hungry and the percentage of the landless and jobless. Even what we call the jobless professionals among the student graduates. They graduate, but no jobs.
So they've been, Philippines has been twice in some ways colonized by the Spanish and by the Americans. So what has been, do you think it has a special condition that way in terms of its particular way which has been colonized by very different systems of
Well, to be exact, 333 years of Spanish colonization and 40 plus years of being an American colony. They say that we have been trained for independence, no, for self-governance. But we say that the Philippines remains a colony, but what we call a semi-colony or a neo-colony still of the U.S. The effects would be, one would be, of course, on the economic system of production. So we are still on a semi-feudal, semi-colonial economy. The U.S. imperialism ensuring to maintain the feudal base for its source of raw materials and cheap labor, no? And then trying to make a market out of the Philippines among Filipinos who cannot really buy the things. So it's a circuitous, it's a cycle of poverty that is happening in the country.
So what has been the, let's say, the social issues regarding the question of the Philippines in terms of its identity with regard to political economic structure of Spanish, the American, then its own indigenous people? Are there conflicts there?
Oh, very much. If you look at the socio-cultural system as borne out by this political economic system, one would be on the negative trends in concerning its cultural identity, in the struggle to maintain that nationalist fervor, or what you say, the love of country. But we have been colonized for 4 centuries almost. So it is a continuous struggle, especially among the youth, which form almost half of the population, to really stand up to fight for nationalism and democracy. It is what we say that, so therefore in our movement, the cultural movement, a new cultural movement is very much a part of that. And then socially, you would say the families as basic units in society are being disintegrated, or because they are dispossessed. They are dispossessed of their land, of their livelihood. So we are forced into migration. Migration inside of the country and migration internationally. You can imagine the social cost of this. Marriages broken, families broken, and then in return, the young going to the cities in search of new things to survive on a daily basis. And then the amount of social crimes committed, which are brought against the people, but which is never understood or even explained, especially by the government, as part of that system which engenders these social crimes.
Yeah, could you talk a little about this with regard to how the church, the Catholic Church, has
Oh, the Catholic Church.
yeah,
The Catholic Church in the Philippines may be, should I say, maybe waning in some of its more religious adherents, But it remains, and the Philippines remains as a dominantly Catholic Christian country in, say, in the Southeast, Southeast Asia. So it still exerts a good, should I say, influence, especially in matters of public opinion making, in trying to hold families together. But it tries to make positions on social issues. It tries to come out with a social critic. But basically, should I say, in the end, it unites with the establishment.
has there been a Jesuit movement?
Um, Given the Pope in the Vatican is a Jesuit, no?
I meant the progressive Catholic movement also, revolutionary movement.
Progressive. I would say that there are, in terms of individuals, we talk in terms of individual church people, not in terms of the institution. Because if we talk about the institution, it remains to be a pillar of the dominant system. It still has its properties, its banks, no? But and some of the major religious congregations are stockholders in big mining companies. I would like to mention that there are progressive church people or individuals who find it in their conscience and in their advocacies to join the mass movements. And part of this is the anti-mining, the anti-mining movement, no? So the mining industry in the Philippines, they say, is the third income generating industry in the country. But it is subject, of course, to the bust and boom, no? Internationally, in terms of prices that they. But they are there, from north to south, big corporations, which also flatten out the mountains, the open pit mining, and of course the underground mining. We have gold, silver, nickel, and even black sand mining. If you know about black sand mining or magnetite mining, you magnet the black sand which holds together the land. It's very disastrous. For example, in the northern part, Cagayan Valley, the northernmost part of the Philippines, there are 40,000 hectares of coast land being magnetite. It loosens the land, and it's a joke that perhaps in how many years the Philippines will only have maybe a third of its land left because of this magnetite mining.
What about the particular position of women because of migration and one finds that a lot of Philippine women are forced or have been forced to work, menial work in Dubai, in West Asia as well as in Singapore. What would you talk about?
It's still there. It remains to be a big oppressive and exploitative condition of the women. And many of them come from the rural women because we are mainly agrarian. So, and there is loss of land, loss of livelihood in the countryside, in the rural area. So these rural women, even if they have to sell everything, they try their luck and go abroad. Still, we say that on a daily basis, we have almost 4,000 Filipinos leaving the country to go on work abroad, especially with women who become domestic helpers in the Middle East and everywhere. Though we have heard, we are still studying the conditions in the Middle East because of the crisis. But women are there abroad. the, the Philippine women's movement. We call it Gabriela. No? It's the local name, just like KMP. No? It's the local name of the peasant movement. They are also there in the International Women's Alliance, a grouping of all progressive and militant women's movements all over the world. It's good.
And in the particular position that Philippines has in terms of geopolitics, what do you see the role of America currently in terms of geopolitics and the position of Philippines? Is it still playing an important role for America?
Yes, very much. 2 years ago, Hillary Clinton, the one running as one of the presidential Democratic candidates in the US, said that this is the Asia-Pacific century. And then the World Bank, last March 2015, said to the Asian delegates in an international conference in New York, the World Bank said, in Asia, you, meaning the investors, the big investors, should go back to agriculture. That is in the field of economics. So also in the field of, you say, geopolitics, the Philippines' position in that part of Southeast Asia and struggling close to Indonesia, and then here China, and then going to the Pacific, occupies that important location to serve as a forward military base of the United States. Right now, part of our struggle in the Philippines is this anti-US attempts to bring back what have been kicked out before in the 90s as military bases. They have proposed to set up again eight major military bases in the Philippines. They say it's for national security. Maybe a display up of politics against China, no? Against China. But the Chinese, patrolling the seas and denying also our fishermen their access to fish, no? In the seas. So you would say that, yes, we occupy that important position as far as geopolitics in that superpower play of the US and the other imperialist countries, and maybe China also.
And what about Indonesia being the world's largest Islam population?
Yeah, I think it has, how many? 245 million, I think?
Second after India or more than India, even I think.
Yeah.
Indonesia. So is there a particular position of Philippines geopolitics with Indonesia?
Yes.
How are relations otherwise between the governments?
They are close. Because of the ASEAN integration, no? So they are one in this laying down of all the political economic structures that should be able to, one, to serve the interests of the US and other European Union's interests in terms of, they say that global value chain, no? Well, you read it as a source of cheap labor, no? The global value chain. And Indonesians, if they are 245 million, you triple our problems. No? So in terms of the movements, we forge close links with the Indonesian people also. So for example, the KMP or the peasant movement in the Philippines is in close unity and partnership with the Indonesian peasant organization, AGRA. They call it Aliansi Agrario and Indonesian.